what's going on, my people? I know it's late, but this is just a video that I wanted to get out. Basically, as you know, before, I revamped my channel and whatnot, I primarily based all my videos around doing, like, Bleach reviews, and that's pretty much what I was known for. It's what you guys loved with me, and it's just the main staple of my channel. It's what my name for my channel previously was primarily based off and all that good stuff. So I know a lot of you lot are wondering, like, yo, Jay, what's your standpoint on the final arc of Bleach? Alright, so let's talk about that. My final thoughts on Bleach overall, because I've read it, I've finished it, I'm up to date with it, like I know what's happened, and I'm going to be quite honest with you, I'm very, very disappointed. And I wouldn't say I'm disappointed with Kubo, like I have no shade towards Kubo, none whatsoever, because at the end of the day he was rushed. Like, the ending we got was not the ending that we deserved. As fans, as viewers of the series and people that have followed it for years and years, we didn't get the ending that we truly deserved. That's the bottom line. And I feel like if Shonen was to give Kubo the respect that he deserved, we would have had a much better ending to Bleach. Because you can tell that Kubo had big plans. Like, the fact that he remembered to put Aizen, in the final fight shows that, like, he didn't forget about him. So all these things that, we're thinking, like, did Kubo remember? Did Kubo forget? Remember, this guy's a smart man. Like, he created the series. Like, he's not as forgetful as Akira Toriyama, like from Dragon Ball Z. Like, no shade on him either, because, like, he's a great mangaka himself. But yeah, that's just my standpoint on it. It's just, I'm just a little bit disappointed about it, because, but before I go too far, let's talk about the final arc overall. I thought the final arc of Bleach, the 1,000-Year Blood War, I think it started off really, really, really strong. I think it was one of the strongest starts to any of the arcs so far. Like, it was better than, I think it was better than the Iran arc. Like, just the way that it was started off, because you had these Quincy's. Like, Quincy's are a type of a species within the Bleach universe that have just basically been non-existent up until this point. Like, we've seen Uryu, and we've seen, Ryuken, well, barely seen Ryuken, and we've seen Uryu's grandfather, which name I can't remember, saved the life of me. But yeah, we've seen him too. So we only seen 3 Quincy's. We only seen little bit snippets of what Mayuri said about them, and, like, about little different techniques that they can use. But then we're finally getting to dive deeper into that particular being in the series, and then they're badasses, man, because, like, they come into the Soul Society like bosses. Like, they just straight up tell, like, Yamamoto, like, yo, we're gonna invade straight up, like, we're taking over, and there's nothing you're gonna do about it. And you know what, they come around and they do it. Like, they invade the first time and they murk everybody. They steal everyone's bankais. They leave Byakuya as pretty much a blood stain in the wall. And then I feel like that point alone, I've said it so many times, but Byakuya should have died. It'd have been more impactful for the story. But when you have fan favorite characters, like, I can understand why Tite Kubo doesn't want to, like, piss his fan base off. I get that. Like, so as much as that did annoy me, and I thought that it would have been very good progression for the story, I understand that at the same time. Anyways, moving on from that, we then had basically everyone had to regroup. We had Ichigo, basically trying to, he was fighting against Kurge, and then, like, he was trying to break out of his jail. Kurge was a sick Quincy. He was sick. Like, he had a funny looking design, but he was sick. Like, his powers were good. Like, he was on job. And yeah, the only reason that, Ichigo got out was because he's part Quincy. So what that ultimately tells me is that anybody else, if it was any other protagonist, he'd been finished. Serious. Like, Kage was deep. And then we get, like, Grimjow slicing him in half, but then they left that as a mystery, which I thought was, like, it was nice as well, because I think, like, even though we kind of knew it was Grimjow, they didn't leave enough evidence to say that, yeah, this is definitely Grimjow. And then it just made you want to read on and read more. Then we could finally get introduced to Juha. And he was sick. He was sick. Like, the way he came in, and Ichigo tried to stop him after, like, he beat Yamamoto, and the way he outplayed Yamamoto was sick, because without his his almighty power, he wouldn't have been able to beat Yamamoto. I really don't believe that. I really don't think he would have. Like, he had to trick him. Anybody that's fought against Ryusei Yamamoto, they've had to trick him. That's the bottom line. Like, they've never been able to beat him in a one-on-one, all fair out fight. Like, he just overpowers you. His Bankai and his Shikai is too much. But nonetheless, like, the way he dealt with Ryusei Yamamoto was sick, and because he was the strongest captain and, like, miles the strongest, it's like, yeah, him dying was like, it was impactful because it made you realize like, raw, these Quincy's ain't no joke. Like, the captains, they got a serious problem on their hands. Like, it's deep. They're stealing your bankais, and now they took out your strongest captain, and then there became little bits in this arc that annoyed me. Like, you had Unohana, who was revealed to be the first Kenpachi, fight against Zaraki Kenpachi, like, you know, the one that we know and love. But then they get put into Mugen and told to fight each other to the death. And I get it, yeah, like, basically, this is, how can I put it this way? It's like a rite of passage for Kenpachi. But why would you, if you're in a war, you're in the midst of a war, why would you have your two strongest warriors, besides Genryusei Yamamoto, go head to head and basically one of them kill each other? Because Shunsui, as head captain, one of the first things that he did after he took over from Genryusei Yamamoto was that he made them fight each other. I'm like, oh god. Like, she could have trained him without killing him. Like, you know, she could have trained him without letting him kill her. There was no need for her to die. And on top of that, yeah, she has been shown throughout the series to have incredible healing abilities. Do you not think that would be useful in a war? You see, little things like that, I'm just like, yeah, I'm like, okay. I get that it's meant to do, like, character development for Kenpachi, but I'm just like, it seemed a little bit forced in that regard. But anyways, it didn't annoy me too much. Like, it was cool, like, whatever. And then what happened after that? We moved on into what? It was like the second invasion, I believe? Or no, the second invasion was when Yamamoto died and all that stuff. So then, I'm trying to remember what happens there, because there was a lot that happened. It was a long arc. Anyways, yeah, let's move on. So now, let's go way deeper into the arc, like, you know, coming towards near the end. Like, we see the Zero Squad in action for the first time, and what's his name? Nimaya just straight up blitzes all the elite Sternrater. All four of them blitzes them, like, just finished. And then all of a sudden, Yuha does his holy selection. They get a mad power up, yeah, equivalent to a Zenkai boost from Dragon Ball Z, and they get slaughtered. And the worst part is they get slaughtered off panel as well. So if the anime was to ever return, there's no material to, like, even go off of, so it'd end up being primarily filler, in a way. Obviously, it'd still be canon, but it'd be filler. But if I'm going to speak about the Bleach anime, I honestly don't see that returning. I just don't. I really don't. Like, my hopes and dreams for that are gone. Moving on into the arc, we then see, you know, basically the strongest of all Shinigami, which was, what's his name again? Oh, damn, the monk. I forget his name. Oh, crap. Escapes me. I forget his name. Someone will tell me in the comments. It's been a long time since I've kept up with Bleach. But, yeah, him. He gets pretty much... He's fighting Yuha. And then, I just thought, like, the way he was dealing with Yuha and the way that, you know, his powers are supposed to work, he should have won that fight. But for plot-induced stupidity or whatever plot reasons, Yuha had to win that fight. It's just the bottom line. Like, no matter how we slice it and how much it would have made sense for... what is his name? I can't remember his name. Yeah, for him to win. It just annoyed me. That annoyed me. But the arc still was good overall. Then you start to get introduced, like, you know, to the final holy forms of the Royal Guard. And they were pretty amazing, to be honest. Like, you have what's his name again? You have the right arm of the Soul King, Panida, who is the right arm of the Soul King. And then you have someone like Mayuri beat him. I'm like, I get that Mayuri is a genius, but I'm like, the kind of power that you're dealing with here, like, you should not be able to, like, you know, whatever. And then the fact that Nemu was suddenly somehow so strong out of nowhere, I'm like, wait a minute. If she's strong enough to take on the right arm of the Soul King, why was she not being so useful in Hueco Mundo? You see? That's what I'm saying. Like, why was she not so useful earlier on? Because the power that she displayed, she could have done so much in the series. It just seemed like, you know, it seemed like at this late in the game, people were just getting, like, you know, power-ups from out of nowhere. Like, from what I mentioned about Kenpachi, Kenpachi was always strong. So, yeah, disregard that. But, yeah, people were just getting power-ups out of nowhere, and it really annoyed me. So, that was just my stance on that. I just don't... When I watch a series, yeah, I like things to make sense. I understand that some things have to be done for plot purposes, and some things need to be done just to help the plot go along and, you know, just smoothing things out. So I don't expect things to all tie in perfectly. But I expect there to be like, you know, a strong level of continuity. Do you understand? And I feel like when it comes to a lot of shonen anime in general, that's missing. And it really annoys me. And it's one of the things that was prominent in Bleach, and it annoyed me too. So, anyways, moving on. You then get somebody like Gerard Valkyrie, whatever his name is, you know, the freaking Spartan. And basically, you couldn't kill the guy. The guy was immortal. You had Byakuya, you know, basically obliterate his head. You had Toshiro Hitsugaya, you know, going to his adult mature form, which was another arse pull in itself, because the whole purpose of his, like, you know, the free flower things on his back of his bankai was that, if these things are done, yeah, like, that's it, like, my bankai is over. And then I remember they tried to retcon it and be like, oh, yeah, nah, just, I never said that, you know, once I do this, my bankai is deactivated. I only said that, but before, the way that the scene was set up, where he said, like, you know, like, I need to be careful that these things don't run out, as if it's going to be a bad thing for him, as if it's going to have a detrimental effect. But it seems like them running out had more of a positive effect. So it was a big retcon there, and that's what I'm saying about continuity and things like that annoyed me. And then you have things where you write yourself into a corner, like you have Gerard Valkyrie, like he's so strong that nobody's beating him. Like, you know, Kenpachi went to Bankai, and you had Kenpachi, Byakuya, and Toshiro all using like Bankai, couldn't beat him. And then, so what does Yuha do? Yuha does his final, like his holy selection, that I can't remember what the actual name of it is, and he basically destroys him. Like, why would you do that? Like, you're in a war. He's basically, no one can get past him. He's like your elite god. I know that you're all powerful and whatnot. You got the, you know, the eyes that can see into the future. Well, sorry, transform the future. But you take out your strongest warrior? Like, it's just dumb moves. And I just feel like this arc was great. Like, you know, it's really, really good and really entertaining, but it's full of dumb decisions. Like, from a tactical war standpoint and trying to win the fight, it was full of dumb-ass decisions that it's really hard for me to get over, I'm going to be honest. But, you know, you guys know me. I'll keep it real with you. Like, I like Bleach. It was what I primarily based my channel off of. But the way that it ended and the way that it was leading up towards it, I don't just mean like the last 5 chapters. I mean like the last, I'd say last 30 chapters. There was great for parts of it. But I slowly saw the continuity and just things being retconned in general. And it really, really, really annoyed me. And it started to leave a really sour taste in my mouth. So there was times where I wanted to come back and review the series. As I was saying to you, like, you know, in my last video, that there was times I wanted to, but then obviously other things as well. But then I read things like that and I was thinking, I don't want to review this crap, because everything I'm going to say is going to be negative. And I'm not a negative person. Like, if I got something to say, I generally like to keep things positive. And like, if I have something negative to say, then I don't really want to say it at all. But sometimes some things have to be said, because like at the end of the day, I'm going to keep it real. I'm not going to lie to you, because that's just how I am. I'm just not going to lie to you, man. I'm just not about that. So, yeah. Okay, let me think. What else didn't I like? Okay, Yuha's powers. Now, the power to see into the future, furthermore the power to transform the future, is a hack's ability within itself. And then, you know, he has a dream here that, you know, Hashworld showed him, basically Ichigo cutting him in half. But the dream / vision that Hashworld saw was different. And the reason I can let this pass is because Hashworld didn't have complete control over the powers. Do you understand? And he's stated that as well. He's even mentioned that, you know, like, my powers are more suitable to fight Uryu in combat. He's not used to them. So he's just basically looking after his powers until Yuha wakes up. So the vision being slightly different, you know, where Ichigo's in his original kimono, Shihakusho, and he has his original Zanpakuto, like, you know, with the wrap and everything. I was like, okay, cool. And even the way that he cut him was like, it was like a vertical slice. But then when he finished him off in the actual end of the fight, it was a horizontal slice, like right across. And even that I thought was nuts. It's like, oh yeah, you know, Uryu, no, sorry, Ryuken and, what was Ichigo's dad's name again? Crap. I forget his name. He shows up so Ishin. Yeah, Ryuken and Ishin, they show up. You're thinking like, okay, cool. You're a Shinigami, you're a Quincy. This fight is basically to determine the entire of the Bleach verse. The entire verse. So that means, especially in the case of Ishin, that means your children are in danger. And this is fact. Your children are in danger. So, with that in mind, you think that he would have done something earlier. And then, them two showed up, and they didn't even do anything. All they did is tell Uryu, like, oh yeah, inside the heart of anyone that Yuha does the holy selection on, there's like, you know, this silver, like, you know, metal that if it shot at Juha, it stops his powers temporarily, but only temporarily. I just felt like, yeah, that was a bit too contrived for me. I'm just like, okay, they could have you know what, I'm fine with there being like, you know, that weakness to Juha's powers, because I'm always a believer of that. No matter how powerful somebody is, or you know how hacked, you know, an ability is, there should always be a weakness, there should always be a balance. And that being the, if that is the only weakness, then yeah, cool, so be it, in it. Well, that and Kyokatsugetsu, but yeah, it just annoyed me. It just seemed too contrived. I don't. That's the word. I don't like the way that it was executed. I feel like it could have been executed much better, and that's just how I really see it. I really genuinely see it that way, guys. And it really annoyed me. It really did. So overall, my thoughts of the final arc was that I thought, as an overall arc, it was good. It had a lot of strong points that added a lot of positive aspects to the series, especially the character development for many characters, such as, you know, Rukia. Even though I don't care for Rukia as a character, she did have good development in this arc, and I will address that and I will admit that. Renji, you know, he had a good development. I like the fact that, you know, that what was the freaking monk's name? That he was basically telling people that, you know, he's telling Renji in particular that, you know, your Zanpakuto hasn't told you its true name. So that there's always that thing as well. It's like, okay, you've retained Bankai, and it kind of tied into what Byakuya said in the beginning of the series, is that you can have your Bankai, but it's going to take you at least 10 years to fully master your Bankai and, you know, basically come to grips with it. And so Renji, all this time up until this final arc, wasn't using his real Bankai, and I kind of liked that. Some people didn't like that, so like, oh yeah, it's just a bit of an arse pull for Renji to get power up. Yeah, you can look at it that way, but I kind of look at it that way. I kind of look at it in the way as that, okay, Renji's got this power up here because he didn't know the true name of his Zanpakuto, where he acquired Bankai, but he hasn't even had it for 10 years, which is what Byakuya stated that you needed to have it for, to be able to master it completely. On that point, when Kenpachi went to use his Bankai, a lot of people were like, oh, how could Kenpachi get Bankai so quickly, but then Ichigo got Bankai quicker? Kenpachi's been around a lot longer than Ichigo. He's had a Zanpakuto for longer than Ichigo. So if you have an issue with Kenpachi obtaining the Bankai, you should have an issue with Ichigo obtaining the Bankai in the first place. And furthermore, you saw what the power of his Bankai did to his arm. It tore it off. And it made sense, because although you've attained Bankai, you have not mastered it. And that's the one thing that I loved about it, was that, you know, like, yeah, sure, people are like, oh my gosh, Kenpachi's arm got ripped off. But I looked at the bigger picture. I'm like, all right, the only reason that's happened is because he hasn't learned to control the overwhelming power that his Bankai enables him to output. And I really, really enjoyed that, man. And I just thought it was really cool. So as I was saying, before I digress too far and start rambling on, is that overall, this arc was very good. The final arc of Bleach was very, very good. I enjoyed it a lot. But as I mentioned as well, there were things that annoyed me throughout the arc, not just the ending. So overall, I'm not one to give things ratings, but if I was to give it a rating, I would say that, you know, the final arc of Bleach, I'd give it a 7 out of 10, honestly. And I'd even maybe say a 6.5. And the reason I'd say that is because, one, the ending, it was rushed. Undoubtedly, it was rushed. It was rushed, and it wasn't tied up nicely. It wasn't delivered nicely. Even if things didn't, I would have rather Yuha won and we have a sad ending than have the ending that we got. I would have rather Yuha just completely destroyed everybody, and he ends up winning. I would have been much better with that, much happier with that. Sorry, can't English today. Than dealing with the ending that we got. I feel like the ending that we got was just something that Kubo had to throw together at the last minute, because he just suddenly got told, like, oh hey, you know, yeah, your manga's got to end. But then we don't really know what goes on on the inside of you know, Shonen Jump. We don't know the conversation that Kubo's had to have with his editors and whatnot. We don't know. So all we can do is assume. So you can assume that, you know, he would have had this information long ago, that he knew when he had to wrap things up by. But then also you need to bear in mind the fact that, you know, the sales of Bleach were declining, and they were consistently declining from the day that the anime stopped. So with that in mind, with the sales of Bleach declining, you know, the manga volumes and all of that, then basically you got to look at it, it's a business, and all their businesses care about is making money and producing numbers. So if your sales are better than they were last year, you're going to be in their good books. If your sales are performing worse than last year, they're going to it's starting to indicate some red flags to them. But if it's consistently becoming lower and lower and lower,
you can see where a business would pull the plug on the project and say to like, yo, we're not helping you anymore. Wrap this up. That's how businesses work, and it's harsh, it's annoying, but that's just the world we live in, man. Like, it's all about money, and you see the same thing happen with games. Like, a lot of publishers, games companies, developers even want to make the best game that they can, but the publishers tell them that, yo, you need to push this out by a certain date, and if you don't, we're not going to help you fund your project. It's is it money ruins things. It's the bottom line. Money can make things great, like, like to make it available to us, over in the western side of the world, because these things come from Japan. But money also ruins things at the same time. But nonetheless, I'm digressing. It's your homeboy Sir Jade. Like, I hope you guys, enjoyed my final thoughts of, Bleach and the final arc of Bleach. If you guys want more videos like this, just hit me up in the comment section below. Let me know. I see all of your comments, so even if I don't answer to all of them, I have 100% seen them. So don't think that you're not being heard, you're not being listened to. Like, this video actually came off of the back of one of my comments in my last video. Somebody asked me if I could do my final impressions of this arc of Bleach. So I'm doing it for them because I love the series, and ultimately I love you guys, no homo. But we cool. Anyways, guys, I'm gonna sign out. Take it easy, and I'll catch y'all later. Peace.